This was called foul play. One of the great joys of high school years is participating in athletic events such as baseball, tennis, golf, football, or soccer. The only thing better than participating in high school athletics is excelling in high school athletics. I participated in basketball. I did not excel in basketball. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Due to the economic situation in our home after Dad's death, he died when I was 7, he was 47. We did whatever was necessary to survive. Toward that end, we periodically rented out one room of our 4 bedrooms in our 2-story house on Depot Street. That was the case when I began my junior year at Turkey Valley High School, a consolidation of Lawler, Fort Atkinson, Wacoma, Providence, and St. Lucas, in the fall of 1960. The newly formed district had hired teachers and coaches to supplement those who returned their job from the original systems. One of the teacher coaches was Edgar Farnham, who taught social studies and coached basketball. This was the answer to my prayers. How could Mr. Farnham not start me on the team, regardless of the fact that I had trouble dribbling, shooting, and rebounding? After all, he was sleeping in the bedroom directly across from mine. Besides, I was a nice guy. Unfortunately, the coach felt it was a better career move to win games than display my lack of talent as a basketball player. I somehow managed to make the 12-man traveling squad in my junior year and again as a senior, but that's when it became apparent that I had better give up all hope of ever earning a college basketball scholarship. Several juniors got into games well ahead of me, regardless of whether we were far ahead or hopeless behind with moments to go in the game. And that's when it happened. I earned the only Turkey Valley hardcourt record that is most likely still intact nearly 5 decades after the event. By now it's 6 or 7 decades. It was a cold November Friday night in 1961, and we were playing one of the few teams that we could handle with ease, Elma Immaculate Conception Catholic High. As a senior, I was sitting at the far end of the bench next to a junior teammate, friend, and neighbor, Joe Scally. It was late in the 4th quarter, and our starters were 25 points ahead with about 2 minutes left in the game. Scally was telling me a really funny joke when he heard the loud, deep voice of my coach and housemate boom our way. "Sheridan, get in the game." I pretended not to hear, and told Joe to continue the joke. He said, "The coach is telling you to get in the game. You better get up there." "Are you nuts? The game's all but over. Finish your story." Then we heard Coach Farnham again. "Sheridan," I said, "get up here." The second request was a little harder to ignore, so Scally's joke would have to wait. I was not a happy camper getting called in as a senior, with fans already departing from the stands. And it was not planned, my record I mean. It just kind of happened because I was embarrassed, ticked off at the coach who slept in his bedroom several feet across from my bedroom. The clock had stopped with maybe 90 seconds remaining. When it started and the game resumed, I hacked an Elma IC player driving in for a layup. Several seconds later, with the ball in my hands, I charged into another player for foul number 2. Number 3 came in less than a half minute against a friend of mine, Mike Merrick, who played for the small Catholic school. "Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to do that," which wasn't true. Now, for the first time in my non-illustrious basketball career, I was actually being cheered by my teammates from the bench. Within 58 seconds of my entry, the refs called me for foul number 4. I was having a Rudy moment. My buddies knew there was still a chance for me to foul out with about 15 seconds remaining in the game. The 4th IC player, in less than a minute, thanks to me, walked to the free throw line. One of the 2 exasperated referees put his hand on my shoulder and chided me through clenched teeth. "Son, I have 35 miles to drive. The outcome of this game has not been in doubt since halftime. It's late, it's cold out there, and you're holding me up. Sorry, sir, line number 2. It won't happen again. And it didn't. The final horn brought the contest to a merciful end, and I headed quickly to the dressing room. So there you have it. I have no idea who owns the all-time Turkey Valley High School basketball team record for most points, block shots, or rebounds. But I am willing to bet my firstborn that no one has ever come back with my 4 fouls and 58-second hacking spree. Like Joe DiMaggio's 57-game hitting streak, Cal Ripken's Iron Man continuous game streak, and Joe Paternan's million college football victories, some records are just plain not to be broken. Everybody needs their 15 minutes, or 60 seconds in my case, of fame. My 1-minute hack attack belonged to the same category, and thanks to this book, I am finally getting the recognition I finally deserve. We'll let these 3 wind this up, and just let us know when it's time, will you?
Hell, I'm just getting wound up. Well, where were we? Okay. Well, you know, downtown we were talking about Junco Park here a little bit ago, and after the baseball diamond showed up there, we had a baseball team, a town baseball team. We didn't have any money, but I managed it, and old John Junco, you know, he never missed a game, and we'd get our butts trounced about every day, every week, and we all were always hurting for new baseballs. And after the game, John would call me over to his little green pickup, and he'd say, "Roger," he said, "here's $20, go buy some balls." And he was a good guy. John was a good guy, good supporter. But anyway, but he also hunted a lot. He had some big moose. He was a good fellow. Did you know that Lawler had 5 taverns at one time? 5 taverns we had for 500 people. That's a pretty good average. 5 grocery stores too. I never hit them, but I did hit the bars. Okay. Yeah, I remember we used to take our dog in there. Our dog's name was Duke. And we'd take him in, Dad would take him in there with him, and everybody'd buy a Duke a candy bar. The dog lived to be about 18 years old. Who says chocolate kills dogs? No way. I'll bet you never heard about Lawless Lawler, have you? Never heard about Lawless? Well, I'll tell you. I was a mayor in town. No, I was on the council. And we had a cop, and he was picking everybody up. They'd go to the bars, and he'd wait for him to come out, and then he'd arrest him and give him a ticket or either something. And I got so mad at him, so I said, "I'm going to run for mayor." And lo and behold, I won. And I said, "Okay, now we're going to have a little come to Jesus meeting with the cops." And he says, "Don't worry, Roger." He says, "My assistant brings in a lot more than his wages are." I says, "That's exactly what we don't want. I want to keep bringing people to town, not drive them away." And so he says, "Oh, okay," but that didn't stop. They kept writing tickets. And the biggest thing was one night, there was one of my sons had a girlfriend, and she was coming in from New Hampton, and 3 miles or 4 miles out of town, they stopped her. And they don't have any jurisdiction beyond 2 miles. So I got so mad, I said, "Okay, tickets are stopping." I says, "Anytime you write a ticket out, you come to me first." Being the mayor and the head of the police, and they got terrible mad. They went to the newspaper. The Jericho Echo. And he said, Lawler, the mayor gets rid of the cops. I didn't get rid of them yet. And the next town meeting, there was 3 TV stations here for the next council meeting. And I saw them 3 stations come in. They had cameras set up and everything. So I just stopped the meeting. We called the meeting off that night, made them go back to Cedar Rapids and Waterloo. So the next month, it was the same old thing, and they were going to town. They were still trying to write tickets, but they had to talk to me first. And next council meeting, here they were again. Well, I walked into the council chambers, and I got a letter that they both resigned. So then I hired a good cop, one that went to the bars. He'd walk in and talk to the people, and I said, just none of this BS. He says, if you're drinking too much, give me your keys, I'll drive you home. And worked out really well. And I thought I was kind of a hero for that, but maybe not. Then I turned the mayor's job over to Dave Costigan, and I moved to Wyoming to get the hell out of Dodge. But anyway, I didn't tell you about, I better not tell you about the bells at church. Let's see, I must have something else to tell you. I don't know if you want to hear about the bells. You want to hear about the bells at church?
Yes.
Okay, well, as you know, I got a divorce. And about 2 years later, the priest come down to see me one day, and Roger, he says, I'd like to get you an annulment. I said, you can't give me an annulment. I said, I've got 5 kids. Well, he said, I'll get you an annulment. I said, but they'll be called bastards. They've been called a lot worse than that. But anyway, no, he says, I'll take care of it. So I says, what's the cost there? Well, he says, $200. I'll get the Archbishop and give you an annulment. So 3 months later, he comes in and says, Roger, I got your annulment. Here it is. I said, well, thank you. And so everything went good until about 3 days later, he comes in and says, hi, Roger, how are you doing? I said, fine, thank you. He says, I forgot to ask you. He says, we need new bells at the church. So, $10,000 later, we got new bells. No, it was fine. It was worth it. Well, I won't pursue that any farther. Let's see. You know, we had a circus in Lawler too at one time. When I was a kid, they had a circus comes to town every year. And I remember they were down on Main Street, and Shine Hanky was feeding the elephant. He was giving him a loaf of bread at a time, and the elephant would take the loaf of bread, pick it up and throw it in his mouth, and Shine run out of bread. And the elephant got mad, and he picked Shine up and threw him on the floor, or the street. He survived. I don't remember if anyone remembers Shine Hanky, but do you? Okay, Jen. That's been a long time ago, hasn't it? Yeah, I remember. We had a lot of characters in town. There was Hoot McFadden, there's Johnny Wagner, there was Whitey Franzen, there was just we had a lot of characters. Yeggs Lansing, Lawler was noticed. You know, we had a flagpole in the middle of Main Street too. Does anybody remember climbing it up to put a new pulley on the top? One guy, besides me. We are old Jack.
First roundabout.
What?
First roundabout.
Yep.
Flagpole.
Roddy Magruder's brother. He was an iron worker from Chicago or something, and they gave him $20 to climb that darn flagpole clear up to the top. That was seventh coming of Christ. Plus, watching that guy climb up that flagpole like a squirrel. He got up there, slithered down, and the flagpole worked. I don't know, till Charlie will holler and run over it. I think it was Charlie, I don't know. Anybody got any questions?
I do. Will you tell us about your decision to start the Ready-Mix?
Oh, you sure you want to know that?
Just tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I was sitting working as a mechanic in the shop with my dad, and there was a guy in New Hampton that had a ready-mix plant, and every week he would put the ads in his paper about, we are so busy, we can't give you service. You'll have to wait for 2 or 3 days or a week to get concrete. So I said, that sounds pretty good. Maybe I could help him out. So I said, well, I think I'm going to try to build a ready-mix plant to help him out. I didn't want to see him overworked. So I went to my banker, and my banker says, no, I won't borrow you $5,000. Okay, so I had to go to McGregor to refinance my house, and I got it, got the $5,000, and borrowed money. I was working for $40 a week, and so I went to the banker, and I gave him the $5,000 check, and needless to say, he wasn't too happy. He says, you will go broke? You will go broke? I said, no, I won't. No, I won't. I figured if I can pour 20 yards of concrete a day, I will survive. Well, little did I know that it's getting up to $500,000 now. So we're just too stupid to quit. We just keep running. But anyway, it's been very good to me. Life's been good, but somebody asked me the other day, how did you make your money? And I should have told them, I says, when you were out playing every weekend in the water, running the boats, swimming, doing everything else, I was working, and it's worked out. But I got nothing else to say. If somebody else has any questions, I'm sure be glad to answer them. And I won't make it X-rated. Thank you very much. I do have to say that coming from a small town has helped me. I've learned to understand people, to appreciate them, to appreciate good friends, and I hope all of you are mine. Thank you very much.
The yellow jauntas hit the school, and you said everybody got it. Did they close the school for a month, or what did they do?
No, they kept the school open. I guess people just kept getting sick. Because half the school came down with yellow jaundice. I don't think they knew that the water fountains were the problem. You know, I think everybody drank out of a common water fountain, and that's probably where it spread. But no kidding, half the school was sick over a period of probably 2 months. Oh, can I say something else? Back during World War II, Dad was reclassified by the draft board A1, 1A, and he was ready to be called up to service for World War II. He told the farmers about it, and Ed Kennan, Connie Kennan, and Milton Benz, and somebody else came to the house one night. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and they talked to Dad and said, do you care if we go to the draft board? And Dad says, no, go ahead. So these farmers went up to the draft board, told them that Dad was definitely needed for the war effort. If Dad was gone, they could not farm. So the draft board reconsidered and reclassified him so he did not have to go to World War II. So he stayed home, built wagons for the farmers, fixed all their equipment, pounded out plow lathes, did all the things that a blacksmith does. But thanks to those 4 farmers, that's what happened.
The sickles that I...
Okay. I can't think of anything else I have to say. Oh, I used to babysit, and by the way, I babysat for the Sheridans. Back when his sisters were older, you know, and they lived on the other side of the tracks, not on Depot Street. Very possibly. But anyway, that was, I just told him today that I used to babysit for his family. And he says, oh. Anyway, I'll let you talk to Jen, see if she's got anything.
I'm good. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.
All right, I can't think of a better panel of 4 people than the ones we had today. Thank you all.